Hello friends, and welcome to r/Prorevenge. And today we have some great stories, such as electrician upcharged my parents by a couple $100. I upcharged him by about $10,000. My parents were renovating their house about a year ago, and they needed an electrician to move some lighting fixtures. Generally, I have a friend that's my go-to electrician for stuff like this, but my parents had hired a guy to paint the living room and needed this done quickly. My electrician friend happened to be on vacation, so he wouldn't be able to get out to me until after the painter was already scheduled to come in. After referring with a couple of other friends, they recommended an electrician. We're all from the same country and happen to emigrate to the same small town, so people within our culture generally recommend other people from that same country. The electrician comes by for a quote. I never met this individual, and he tells my parents that it's all based on the amount of time it would take, and that he can't give them an exact quote because he doesn't know how much time it's going to take until the job is already started. My parents think this sounds reasonable and end up hiring him. Just as an aside, I installed Nest cameras for my parents in their living room facing their front door, so we had a good view of the area where the job was being performed. This job takes him about an hour, and he literally sat on my couch on his phone for about 5 hours, watching TV, kicking his feet up, waiting for my mom to get home so that he could show her the work is complete and charge her like 6 hours for a job that took him about an hour, which I confirmed how unprofessional his behavior was on my Nest cam. My parents didn't want to cause any friction, so they paid him for the amount of time he charged them. I believe it was like $500 or something that really should have cost about $150. Anyway, the lighting fixtures were installed, he receives his check, and went on his merry way. My electrician friend later confirmed that this guy had seriously upcharged my parents. A few months later, I decided to take a side gig selling solar as a 1099 employee. I was making decent money at my existing job, but I had a wide enough network where I could help people around me with generally good solar deals and make some good money for myself on the side. The company I connected with would give me my price on panels, excluding installation, as well as on the roof if a roofing job was required. My price was extremely good, and the way I made my money was by tacking on my fee at the end built into the roof price and the per watt price of the panels plus installation. Much like my parents found the electrician, the same electrician, who I'd never met, found me inquiring about a roofing job. I told him that I don't do standalone roofs, but that I could package something for him, including solar, which would get rid of most of his electricity bill. He said he didn't have the money up front for the roof or the panels, which is fine because we can finance, and it started to sound like he was a little bit desperate as his roof was leaking and he didn't have the capital to fix it. Generally, when I go to a client, I try to keep the price down and make it more desirable for the client. I'd rather make less money than no money. So I generally make around $3,000 to $5,000 per install, which is a win-win. When I got the call, I thought the guy's name was familiar, and sure enough, it was the electrician who'd helped my parents and left a bad taste in my mouth. At this point, I knew he was desperate for a resolution to his roof issue, and I knew he barely spoke any English, so my word was going to be gold. I set up an appointment to go meet up with him in about a week. I knew that I was going to upcharge the crap out of him, and due to the language barrier he'd have with other installers, his desperation, and the fact that he upcharged my parents, I got the price quote from the installer and said the roof would cost about $10,000 for a strip and re-roof. This was a really good house, as the house was a multi-family unit, and I was expecting the quote to come in around $14,000. They also gave me the price on the solar panels, which would be around $15,000, so the price I was looking at for the project was $25,000. Generally, on a good situation like this, I might have called in $29,000 total, got him a spectacular deal, made a couple grand, and called it a day. But I was thinking, F this guy, so I adjusted the cost of the roof to $19,000 and the price of the panels to $21,000, half expecting that I would eventually need to come down on the pricing at some point. I went over there to meet up with him, proposed his setup, told him how good the quality of the roofing job would be, which is accurate, and that the solar system would virtually wipe out his electricity bill, and that I'd get him set up with a 25-year loan to keep his monthly payment down. He agreed to this, was excited to get the roof done, and really didn't care much about the panels, but they were part of the bundle, and on we went. Once everything was installed, I was paid out on my deal. I went to cash my $15,000 check. I went to my parents' house and gave them $1,500 each, and explained to them what had happened and how I'd stumbled upon the $15,000 commission check. Just so it's clear, there's nothing shady about what I did. It was way more expensive than it needed to be, but everything was disclosed to him properly. He just paid more than he would have had to, even if he'd simply shopped around. But at the end of the day, it's well within my rights to charge whatever I want. Like it's within the rights of a customer to tell me to F off. A big chunk of what he paid is covered by incentives, but he still paid way more than typical. Moral of the story, especially for contractors, plumbers, electricians, mechanics, don't F people, because you're more aware of how things work than they are in a particular field, because you might end up getting F'd later tenfold. I'm getting kind of bothered by people essentially calling me a POS. I don't believe I did anything wrong here. He pretended to work longer than he actually did. I've had no contact with this person. My parents didn't want to be confrontational, so they paid him. In a separate event, he reached out to me for a service I provide. I have freedom to set my own pricing on this service. I provided him with a quote for said service. The service was provided in great working condition and is warranted for 25 years against anything that may occur. He wasn't forced to agree to do this. He wasn't coerced or threatened. He simply agreed because he saw the value in it. I know that I overcharged him, and plenty of solar salespeople overcharge if customers are willing to pay, because a big chunk of the money is provided through government incentives. He still has a brand new roof with architectural shingles and has a brand new solar system. You people that are going out of your way to question my character on r/Prorevenge need to seriously get off your moral high horses. Well, that's all for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and see you next time.